Let's get to this. Love is not like people think. It is not just an action or an emotion. Love is who we are. If we understood that, everything else would change in an instant. Love is who we are. It's who we really are. You know, and when we get aware of that, you recognize you can't do if you don't recognize that you are. You can't do other than that which you are. And if you think you're a flawed person, then your flaws come through what you do. When you recognize love and acceptance of your goodness, not just acceptance of, well, I'm just going to accept that I'm a person, you know, an addict and an irresponsible person. I don't mean that. Yeah, you have to accept first that you are that, but accept that you're actually a holy being. Accept your flaws only for the purpose of transforming them. Don't accept them and go, well, I've learned love and acceptance, so I'm just going to stay the way I am. That's not what we mean by acceptance. Accepting God, isn't that weird? All the reading I've done and meditation, isn't that weird that I still have this one habit? That is the way to start with acceptance. Kind of laugh at it. You know, again, lighten up. You see, like the tirade, lighten up. So it's kind of like, yeah, you know, all this good that I would do, I kind of miss it sometimes. The person on the New Year's resolution for a diet, and seconds later you're obsessing on Twinkies, you know. It happens, and just learn to laugh at it. God, this is bizarre. I've been in self-help for years. I've done 12 steps from everything under the planet. I've rebirthed. I've done everything. I've done healing and Rolfing and Reiki, and I still can't go without a Twinkie. It's kind of funny. Laugh at yourself rather than bad, bad, bad. Just first own it. And also don't say, I'm not into Twinkies. You know. But don't hug me too hard because I have pink Twinkies all packed into my pockets. You know. No, you know, just say, isn't that funny? As you eat your Twinkies, you know, isn't that funny? That's better than pretending it isn't there. We think that the image we show is the better or most important piece. No, it's all right to laugh at it. But commit to getting better. Commit to working on that. Commit to looking at why you obsess on this addiction or that addiction. So we have to come to know who we really are. But we also have to believe it. Knowing is like saying, I truly, divinely know that I am love. That's like, pretend it for a moment, that's like saying it in your upper chakras. I know I am love. Then drop down the chakras, and when you reach the heart, you have to also believe in your heart that you are that thing that you affirm that you are. If it goes wrong and you say, I know it spiritually, but I sometimes don't believe it, that's where the life steers off and you start having experiences to the contrary. Mess up your beliefs or mess up your lower chakra, lower thinking. I don't mean the upper knowingness of God, but if I don't believe it, I'm going to mess my life up. If I don't think it in my mental chakra, I'm going to mess it up. If I don't feel it in the emotions, it's not going to reach my experiences. I need to know the way Jesus said it. When you see me, you see the Father. What he was saying was, it's high and low. I have no will but God's, is another way of saying it. You know, now we might say, that is my goal. I have no will but God's. I'm working on that. I still mess up, but that's where I'm going. To have no will but God's. I'm doing my best. Every decision I make, I try to stay aligned. And that's a good way to do it. It owns that I'm struggling sometimes, but it owns where I know I'm going. So don't just spiritually know these things, because then that'll get perverted into an intellectualism. Know it spiritually, but believe it in your heart of hearts. I believe it. I really am made in the image of God. I really am the presence of love. Now we know that there's another chakra that's called the intellect that goes, yeah, but really? I mean, if you interviewed everybody that you've ever known, would they say, oh man, that person's definitely the image of God and the image of love? Then they're not all going to say that. So your head's going to go, don't say it too loud. Now the inner critic's going to start channeling all the external critics, and you'll never get anywhere. But you have to try. I believe it. I'm absolutely committed to believing in my heart and soul that I am as God created me to be, which is its image, which is love. Breathe into that. Take that belief down into the intellect and say, we are love. And the intellect's going to go, yeah, but, and you say, wait. Even if I've messed up, love forgives. So you have no case. Yeah, but, shh. Be still and know that I am God. And every attempt it makes to try to make you judge others or yourself, find fault and flaw, just say, yeah, I get that you have lots of opinions. They're just not welcome here. Then drop down into the emotional self, the part that has regrets and sadness and, depressions at time, and say, honey, how are you feeling today? Well, I'm kind of depressed. We're made in the image of love, which is bright and radiant, but I don't feel that today. I know. So what would you like? Would you like to rest a little bit? Would you like some hot chocolate? What would you like to help nurture you for a moment? But finish that, because I'm still going to come back and tell you when you're done with your cocoa or whatever you have, I'm going to remind you again. Doesn't it feel, because now we're emotional chakra, doesn't it feel great to be the presence of love? But I don't know what that looks like. You will if you're silent and let me show you. The me I'm talking about is the presence of God, saying, let me show you that you are love. So I sit down and I contemplate. Well, yeah, I was at Unity of Sedona today, and there were people smiling and dancing, but I don't feel them now. That's because you forgot again. But just think back to it, and medical science will tell you, and psych sciences will tell you, that when you go back and reflect to the moments of dancing and hugs and smiles, it actually starts happening again inside your brain. But you have to let it happen. It's not going to be as perfectly visceral externally, but internally, at least my mind starts returning to happy moments. That's not rose-colored glasses. It's true. Come back to moments when you've been alive and alight, and feeling love, and bring that into that emotional center. When we get everything aligned, Jesus again saying, let the inside be like the outside and the outside like the inside, meaning holistically allow love to happen. If you say, well, I've tried that and it just doesn't last very long, and you give up, you'll never stand a chance again. Your battle is, as Krishna taught us, your battle is the one before you. So if today you're not seemingly capable of feeling love and light and valued in this planet, you're actually losing your battle. So go ahead and lose it, and you'll have to have another one tomorrow. So instead, be victorious and say, not today, man, not today. I know all the testimonies against me, but not today. I actually am going to choose to believe that I am the presence of love. Little old me. And, in the tradition when we talk about love, I want to segue into something real quick, because in tradition, go back to, for example, Greek mythologies, we all know that true heart-centered love is agape. It means unconditional love. There's philos, or philia, which is friendship. And then there's eros, which is more of the sensual, not just sexual, but sensual and intimate love. Now, human beings came to say, you know what, there's this kind of this spiritual, religious love, and then there's carnal love. That's how they made it, religious and carnal, which both are totally messed up. But religious and carnal. So they said, stop the carnal and become celibate, or they called it chaste or chaste, but it's not. It becomes strictly celibate, deny the carnal, and become religious. But you know what happened is, the people that became religious in their love started inquisitions and torturing women, because they were like, you're making me feel carnal thoughts, so we should kill you. Isn't that weird? That's called projection. I have issues about the way you make me feel, so I need to get rid of you. See, and that's very unhealthy, because all they gave us was carnal and religious, and both were going to be a failure. Because the religious was simply a denial of the carnal, and where does that get you? So the carnal needs to become, that's why the angel, Eros, Cupid, is shown to have wings. Because he's like, I'm here to awaken love. And his name is also Eros, which is where we get the word erotic. But Cupid and Eros, in one respect, comes from a lineage Penia, which is where we get the porneia. His lineage is from Penia, which is the shallow love, but he's also coming from Venus. So he's having wings is a symbol of, I'm here to take carnal love to a higher level. I'm here to help transform physical love to higher forms. Now, those of us that are on the spiritual path, we find ourselves asking ourselves these kinds of questions. What do I do with my sensual self? Again, Cupid is not to pierce you with an arrow and make you fall in love, like shallow, romantic, codependent dysfunctional love. Romantic, the stuff that makes good Hallmark cards. That's not what Cupid was supposed to be awake. Cupid was saying, take the sensual and take it to another level. So we have this idea of to be chaste. Chaste means pure. To be chaste means just pure in heart. So that's what Cupid was trying to say is, I'm going to pop you and hit you with an arrow of love, let it awaken and let it get the kundalini to rise and say, wow, I got it. I'm awake to love. But there's, again, different kinds. There's the spiritual agape love of the heart. There's the emotional, the friendship kind, and then there's the physical kind. The highest of these is heart. But not because we're saying against carnal or physical love, but if you had to choose one, the physical love will not awaken the heart, but the heart can awaken the physical, so get the heart right. Another option, and it's a great one, is do all of them in balance. But most people don't know how. So when you're asked to be chaste or chaste, when you're asked to be chaste, it means pure of heart. It doesn't mean celibate. Pure of heart. Part of the symbolism of Mother Mary was never actually with a man, and she conceives Jesus. Whether you believe that or not is not the point. Is she pure? Is she the Virgin Mary? Again, the word kept getting misinterpreted to be a physical thing. It meant pure in consciousness. Whether it's physical or not, she had an absolute pure consciousness. Our job is to say, with or without a partner, but if you have a partner, a lover, can you be pure of heart while you make love? That's the whole point. Can you bring love to a place of even the physical world? If you have a bag of money, can you bring cash and use love to transform that cash into people's hands and help people? Can you take whatever you've got before you, including intimacy, can you bring love to that physical thing? And almost nobody has accomplished it. But you will not be done with reincarnation cycles until you can pull it off. Because as long as you judge these things as a separate thing, they become a battle. Instead, how do I bring love to all things? Even in the life of Jesus, mostly from the Gospel of Philip, there's a couple of statements made. What about Jesus? Was Jesus celibate? Did he have a partner? Don't get too caught up in the politics of that question. But there's important things to understand. They say, it's recorded now. They found one of the lost books, Gospel of Philip. It says Jesus loved Mary more than all others. In that same gospel, they ask him, why do you love Mary more than the rest of us? And he says, that's not possible. And yet we're like, oh no. The way it says it in the Gospel of Philip, it's he hadeth the hottest for thine Mary. That's not what it says. He loved her. But to love a woman in that age, in the open, does look like quite a scene. And he says, I don't care. Then they say, and another part of that gospel, he kissed Mary on the lips, often. But the word in Hebrew that they translate as kiss means to share the same breath. To share the same breath. To kiss. It means to join, to connect. But to share the same breath, if I'm saying something right now and you're like, wow, we're actually kissing. Because we are sharing the same consciousness, the same breath. So how do you translate? And then there's a part, and Mary was the companion of Jesus. Everybody goes, the wife. The companion meant the sister, the mother, and the friend, if translated properly. It meant she was willing to be everything, which is a beautiful word for a companion, a definition of a companion, literal companion. But it's also, we're there for each other. So the translations, part of what I'm pointing is not just to give you a sort of a scholarly review of something, least of all me doing something like that, but it's not that. It's that I'm trying to say, look at underneath this, how people interpreted it years ago to be horrible. Don't even discuss it because they had issues about the idea of Jesus having any kind of companion or intimacy, and now people are making it gospel. No pun intended. They're making it like a very important, almost political statement. Relax. A statement I've shared many times in my years, and I haven't shared here in several years, but the question arises, did Jesus actually have sex? People ask that. I mean, to this day, I'm on tour and people come up, sometimes in audiences and sometimes privately. Michael, can I ask you? People are saying that, and what I say is it actually isn't important, even though you think it is. It isn't important whether he did or didn't. What's important is what? That he was good at it. So, and by that what I'm saying is whatever you do, be fully present. I am the presence of love. Well, what does love do as a parent? You're supposed to be doing love as a parent. Love as a companion. Love as a lover. Not action, not stuff. That statement, eros comes from penia as a parent. Penia translates to mean unquenchable thirst. So you can have a physical addiction to intimacy. Or you can come from the opposite, which is, I'm full. So I'm not going to come from the root chakra and try to find love, because under everything is a search for love or an expression of love. Do you want your lovemaking, your intimacy, your friendships, your partnerships, do you want them to be unquenchable thirst? Do you want your love to be the root chakra disconnected from the upper centers? No, I hope not. But what you can do is say, it is my choice to say, connect with God and know true love. Bring that love into my heart and absorb it, relationship with God and self. Fill up until my cup runneth over, and now I can bring that love even to the physical level. I choose to be a good agape, unconditional love presence. I choose to be a good philia or philos, the friendship love. But I also choose to be eros in a healthy sense, which means, because eros coming from love, the true love, becomes an expression of healthy affection. Believe it or not, you were acting the eros, not the sexual erotic, eros in its true sense, when you ever handed someone a tissue when they were crying. It's an act of external affection, but it's coming from an act of love, a feeling of love. That's what it's supposed to look like. Always coming from love, not preaching love, not trying to just come from like a opinionated about love, but the truth of what love is. I love the idea that in Greek mythology, and I was looking at a booklet yesterday that I have had for many years, and it talks about Greek mythology, but something to remember about true love. There are stories about love and goddesses, Ariadne, and pronounced differently to different people, and Theseus, which is similar to the word Jesus. So it's interesting because there's a goddess type, a princess, and a prince. And there's these human sacrifices being done on this island outside of Greece at one time. And the king is asking for these sacrifices, so they take people from Athens and they sacrifice them. 7 male and female virgins. So they're that just means get lucky sooner, and then you're not a candidate for that. But anyway, not me. Anyway, so you don't want to be one of those sacrificed people. So they're doing this. Well, the prince of Athens says, I don't agree with this. So he volunteers himself to go and be sacrificed. When he gets to the island, the princess on that island of the King Minos says, wow, this guy, he's a prince and he's putting himself in the position of being sacrificed. She falls in love with the guy. Her name's Ariadne. And she has this spool of thread that she gives him. When you go into, because they're going to take the virgins and put them in this labyrinth underground where the Minotaur comes and kills them and eats them. And this was an ongoing thing in this story. So he actually goes in there and she gives him a spool of thread. Now you would think, how about a shield and sword? Like, could you, this is it? Seriously, lady? She gives him a sword, which is the sword of truth symbolically, and then the thread. So what's happening here is Theseus, Jesus, goes into the world. Think about it. He actually sacrifices himself, this prince, Jesus, the Prince of Peace. This is long before Jesus, but this is because it's archetypes. So Theseus goes into the labyrinth, meaning this world, the three-dimensional world, where you will always get lost, according to the legend. Nobody ever got out of that labyrinth, that maze. So he goes in there, and he's got the thread given by this princess, and she represents the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, who's always willing to try to bail us out of our labyrinths or our mazes. So that spool of thread, that's like the Hansel and Gretel story, he followed the thread to get out of the maze. You follow? That's where the divine feminine is the hero. And some people get bent out of shape. Well, how come these stories have, it's the man always being the hero? Even if it is, it's right that it's so. And then, of course, you feminists are getting upset. But wait, there's more. The reason it's right for the man to be the hero is because the man symbolizes the thinker, the head, and the root, the physical self. The head cannot rescue anybody. So when the man thinks of himself as a physical person, he's dense and he fails the initiations and he never can save the princess. The princess is not a woman, guys. It's not gender. The princess represents our soul. Your head can never save your heart. So usually the man in the stories goes through initiations and he fails at first to be a hero because he's trying to be, from a physical level, bringing love to the world or to rescue the soul. But after he goes through his tests and learns to open his heart, he's able to then step up and rescue the princess. Do you see what the metaphor is? When he's not trying to do this from his head and from his body, and he goes, I don't know, and spirit fills him, then he's able to rescue the princess. It's for males and females. It sounds gender related, but it isn't. It's about saying, you might start off as the man trying to save the woman in the story, but you'll never succeed as a man. You have to surrender. And what you're really trying to rescue is you from your own head and thinking. And then you have to rescue the princess, which means he surrenders to her. They always get married happily ever after because it sounds so like, aw. It's not supposed to be aw. It's supposed to be a different chant. Aw comes from the, oh, isn't that, that's the human, oh, isn't that sweet? It's much bigger than that, man. When that marriage takes place and they live happily ever after, it means unified in your being. I of myself can do nothing. So I can't rescue the princess. But when I realize that and I start getting filled with spirit, then I can rescue my soul that has been confused all this time. So in that story, though, Ariadne, you have a woman saving the man, which I think is great for those of us who want to hear that other style or that other gender. And lastly, Cupid. The beautiful story, Cupid and Psyche, we make it into, all the cute little imagery and the little floating hearts around Cupid. And he's a little cherub and he shoots the arrows and helps people fall in love. What really happens there is Cupid's mother is a bit of a jealous type. She hears that there's this new girl that's been born and she's growing up, Psyche, and she's beautiful. Now Cupid, Psyche means the soul, and Cupid represents love. So what do you think the story of Cupid and Psyche is about? Not romance, soul love. Think about it, that's their names. So Cupid and Psyche. Psyche is born and Cupid's mother says, she's possessive, Aphrodite, and she says, I want you to go and see if it's true that she's as beautiful as they say, because nobody's supposed to be more beautiful than me. And this is the difference, because Aphrodite and Cupid is like the more controlling female and the other more passive female. So these are two archetypes even of female, which is in us all. But anyway, so Cupid flies, and while Aphrodite is sleeping, he lands next to her and observes her and realizes how beautiful she is. Now he's just looking and he's got the arrows, and that makes people fall in love. But that's not why he's there. His mother says, go put these drops, bitter water, into her mouth so that she will never be able to love without challenge. She'll never have, reciprocal love. So he's there and he's got the little drops, and then he realizes how beautiful she is. But he puts the drops in because he can't go against his mother, who's a goddess. Drops the drops in, and that wakes Psyche up. And when she wakes up, she smiles at him, and he goes, oh my God, she's beautiful. And at that moment, his arrow pierces him. And he's like, oh my God, now I'm falling in love with her. And the long story short, remember, he's also cursed her with unrequited or unreciprocal love. And yet he's fallen in love with her, which is going to be the curse kind of taken full circle. But at the end of the story, he flees away. He realizes what he's done and what's happened here, and he's in love, but yet this and that and the other. So, and he can't go against his mom, so he flees. But from the secret recesses, and this is a message to you guys, and also to you girls, it's for everybody, but also the longing for love, because she is so beautiful, as is your soul. There's the ego that tries to curse you and have you never find love in this planet, romantic as well as spiritual. The ego has cursed us and said you're never going to find anything you're really looking for. But that's the metaphor. It's the ego, not God. So what Cupid does is he just visits her spiritually. And she wakes up in this place that's basically like Eden. So he kind of sneaks her away to live in this beautiful place where he can relate to her and be with her, but she's not allowed to see him. That's part of what's going on in the story. Only in the dark. So she has this beautiful, wonderful lover, and she's, so happy, and she feels absolutely, this is Eden, guys. She finally reaches love, but yet it's got a barrier to it, right? Because of being on earth, three-dimensional limits and barriers. So she's ready. I want to feel this love. So she's saying, I love this so much, to have true love. Feels fantastic, but there's that little piece that I don't get to know him fully. Then she says, can I visit my sisters back in the three-dimensional world? And he kind of reluctantly says, sure. Brings her back, and her sisters find out how much love she has found. Just like people in your families or friends who have found out about the love you have found in God, in spirituality, in your metaphysics, your New Age teachings, your ceremonies. You go to Sedona, and some people think you're crazy. You read beautiful spiritual books, and people think it's all hogwash. This is what happens. Now that she decided to go back to the 3D a little bit, which is her ego saying, why don't you miss that? Let's go back and go dense again. She goes back, and her sisters, metaphoric of humans, they start saying, sounds like you have a really wonderful life, but he doesn't let you see him. He's probably a hideous monster. And starts planting doubts, just like people will plant doubts in our minds about what we do spiritually, about following our path and our soul's purpose. People will tell you you're crazy, but you're not. They're crazy. And they don't like the fact that you're shaking things up by waking up and realizing, I have a life. I have something I found, and it feels good. It feels beautiful. So he eventually takes her back, and she's been programmed now with doubts about that beautiful love that she had. And watch yourselves, because your soul will always get the head trying to plant doubts and faults and nitpicking. They'll do it about anything you like or love. She goes back home. She's not sure who this guy is. She just knows in the dark that he's present, laying together. He's sleeping now. She wakes up and she gets a candle to see what he looks like, to see whether her sisters were right, that he's a hideous beast. Takes a candle, puts it near him, and she realizes, oh my God, this is the god Eros, and he's beautiful. Just then she's, oh, he's so beautiful. The candle pours wax, burns him. He leaps up, and it's over. And he flees from her. And now she has to live without, she has to live without that love. So to me, this is quite beautiful, because he says you cannot have love and suspicion at the same time. You cannot have love and distrust. Part of the moral of the story. So he flees from her. Humans are their own worst enemy. Our own doubts will get the best of us. You can read a book and go, oh my God, this is totally waking me up. But then go on the internet and you'll find, oh, that author has some naughty gossip about them. Whether it's true or not, people love to do it. And then it'll plant a doubt, and you might not read that author's next book. Now, what was that about? That was about that test there. You found love. It's a form of love. You found a good teacher, good teachings. You found love. And then you realized, wow, somebody starts planting a doubt about that man, that woman, that teacher, that group, that whatever it happens to be. What I do is try to stay out of that, my best that I can. I try to stay out. I don't listen to that. I don't watch, but it's everywhere. Do your best to say no to that stuff. Not just internet. I'm talking in life. Do your best. I'm not saying be naive, but I'm saying when you find love, let it be love. Does it mean there's no flaws? No. You could say, I love this one woman. She's a teacher. She's so vibrant and youthful. Then you find, oh, I just found out. I went to a hair salon and they told me she's one of the clients. She dyes her hair. Oh my God, I thought she was just spiritually youthful. Now I realize it's all a lie. You know, just lighten up. The soul that's teaching is teaching. That's all. That's all. There's a teacher that I didn't agree with some of this one guy's behaviors. And then on the internet, everybody started launching on him. And I already didn't agree with his behaviors. But when people approached me and said, you know, what do you think? And this guy, you know, I have to tell the truth. Not my opinion of the truth, which is things that we don't agree on. I told the truth, which is you either got something from his book or you didn't. And if you did, like that. You don't have to marry the teacher. You don't have to adopt the teacher as your child. It's just a book. It's just a teacher. It's just a teaching. So be careful, guys. Your head will always try to crucify your heart. Your head will try to find fault. And it's all you. Even when you think you're finding fault in those teachers, teachings, counselors, whatever you think they are, it's actually the more of them that you lose faith in, you've actually destroyed parts of yourself. Lose faith and you're losing faith. There are three things, right? There's hope. Remember that? And people change the words on some of these. But there's faith and hope. And then sometimes they translate charity, but it's love. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is what?
Love.
Love. Why? Because faith means I'm going to have faith, even without knowing for sure. I'm going to have faith that love is. Then there's hope that love is. And then there's love, which means love is. Why do you think the man said the greatest of these is love? Because one is I'm going to have faith that I am love. One is I'm hoping I am love. The other is I am love. You see? Love in its greatest sense. Be the presence of love, but in every chakra. Even the physical, but not without the spiritual. Pure in heart. Slow down, even when being passionate. Be present too. Don't let it hook you into the physicality, because then it's carnal. Is carnal bad? No, it's just not awake. So if you want to do that, that's fine. Go into a delusion of having hot, passionate lovemaking or whatever, but it's delusional. You okay with that? Good. Knock yourself out. But if you want to be awake, that's not how it's done. How can I be fully awake? How can I, that when I'm with a person, it's like a kiss. Meaning, it's to share the same intention, the same breath. You know, to be able to treat people as though there's a reciprocating love, but don't get romantic, because everybody does that. They romanticize it and make it about the emptiness inside that's never quenched. Be careful. Because you'll never have a complete life without communion with God, a responsible self, and connection with others. Got to have it all. You will not have a connection with others without communion with God, because God is the source of others. Meaning, that's how we get others back in a state of love with us. It's through communion. Commune with God. But be responsible within yourself. If you can't do that, or either for that matter, but if you can't be responsible within yourself, you're not even healthy enough to be in a relationship with others. God, self, others. In that order, and also in balance. That's our goal. So think in terms of marrying yourself. Make a commitment to yourself. Make a commitment, okay, to yourself. Get a little ring and wear a ring that is a commitment to yourself. That's all. Meaning, the commitment to myself means God first, and then I am here. I'm here to become a better and better person. Then when I connect with others, I'm at a higher level to be able to do that, which means others are at a higher level too. But bring somebody who has a commitment. Do not bring somebody who says, look, you know, unconsciously or consciously saying to somebody, I've been alone for a while, so you'll do. That's not the way to connect with other people. Don't go to people with the unquenchable thirst, even though you try to hide it. You know, act all kind of centered and spiritual and new agey and together, and yeah, I've done inner child work and this and that and the other. Even with all that, you could still get hooked by your own issues trying to hook other people. That's where that term hooker comes from. It is, because they're people that are, that's their style is, I have to hook people. I have to make you attracted. I need to hook you, but it isn't prostitutes. All human beings have been hookers, meaning you sell yourself to try to get something from someone. And one is just doing that, it's kind of almost perfect. because it's a beautiful word showing us and teaching us something. Even if you're a prostitute, you don't have to be a hooker. Because there's such a thing as a sacred prostitute, which you may or may not agree with, and I don't care. It's just, there is such a thing. There are people that can do anything, even soldiers in war, and do their best to pray at the beginning of the day and ask to feel God's presence. Even in a surgery where you have guts and stuff all over and all that yucky stuff that you have to deal with in a hospital room. And there are people that pull it off saying, be with me, God. In any profession and in anything. But not everybody realizes that. And all of that is just a search for God. It's just a search for love. So why don't we stop searching and start finding? Instead of seeking, let's do the find. Seek and you shall find. Great. We sought, now we're finding. And the finding means I'm in the presence of love. So I need to treat myself accordingly. Marry myself and show respect. The I do, in sickness and in health. You know what that means? It's not just a vow that you're going to eventually break with somebody else. All too often we do. We betray ourselves. Instead, how about this? How about I put the ring on and I say, in sickness and in health, meaning even when I'm sick, I will not judge myself for being sick. I'll love myself. Even when I'm healthy, I won't become arrogant about it and say, look at me, I'm just such a great model of health and vitality. I'm committing to my soul's purpose. I'm committing that no matter what I have, I will try to bring it to others. I'm committing to being the presence of God on earth. Let that be a commitment, okay? If you can't find those rings, little hematite rings, they're usually only $1 or something in the stores. It's simple, easy. You can even put it on a chain. It's perfect. Make a commitment to love, guys, okay? Let's have a moment of meditation before we close. Peace. Faith, hope, and charity, and the greatest of these, faith, hope, and love, the greatest of these is love. Charity is an act of love. That's why that word sometimes is put in there. Faith, hope, and love, the greatest of these is love. Why? Because I'm not hoping or faithing. I am. I am the presence of love. So we breathe into that knowingness. We breathe into just an acceptance. Let's imagine that we are the presence of love. What does that mean? What if, like in a mythology, you're sitting in this room as you are, a human being, you're sitting wherever you are on this planet, you're a person, and what if you had one of those experiences like many prophets of old, men and women prophets of Israel, for example? What if a light came beaming down onto your being, and maybe like them, you fell to the floor saying, what is that? What is that? Something amazing, this powerful light beaming down on you. And a voice says, I am love. Is that you, God? And it answers, I am. But it adds, I am love. Yes, my Lord. What would you have of me? I am love, and so are you. So it says, try and repeat that to yourself and see what it brings up. Because when you say, I truly am love, now if you just say it without going deep, you might be able to say it easily. Say it and watch all the deepest things within yourself that would think to the contrary. I am love. Because your ego is going to haul you into the spiritual courtroom and try to prove you wrong. I am love. Well, you weren't very loving today when you were on the road and somebody cut you off. I am love. Well, then why are you sick if you're love? I am love. Then why do you struggle financially? That's what's going to happen. And just be honest with it. I am love. I truly am love. Hear and feel that music stirring inside. It's gently stirring so that that which is not love can be stirred up and pour over and out of us forever. It's stirring away bringing up from the depths first the dense stuff that's not true. I am love, yes, but you've slept around. I am loved, but you've had your body abused. Don't deny it. You put drugs in it and all kinds of yucky things. But do not waver. I am still love. How can you say such a thing? I need to forgive myself, for I knew not what I was doing. And now it's time for me to return to that awareness. I am actually the presence of love. Despite your partnerships that didn't work, you're the presence of love. Sometimes I'm not always the perfect parent, but you are the presence of love. I am the presence of love. Which means I am as God created me to be. And I give thanks that this can never change. This can never change. Love loves love. I know what my ego-based thoughts can tell me, but the ego is not actually a reflection of love, therefore it doesn't really exist. So it's kind of like I can choose between the truth of who I am or the made-up version. And why would I choose the made-up version? I am love. I am love. And now imagine in your own way, what if in that visualization, in that miraculous moment, the clouds parted, light beamed down, and then it said, you need not try to be perfect on earth. You need to just accept that even through your imperfections, you're the presence of love. But how can you bring forth that love a bit more? So this being, just like it gave arrows to Cupid, it gave another something trident to Poseidon, different skills and gifts to gods and goddesses. God's saying to you right now, you are the presence of love. You have all the tools you need. Go forth and start manifesting this. You are the God or goddess of love. And again, that can bring up thoughts. Come on, really? I didn't say put it on your business cards. But you are the God or goddess of love, so I'd like you to spend the next half minute imagining that you act accordingly. What would it look like? In all your most mundane interactions, partnerships, business experiences, what does love look like? As soon as I close my eyes personally and start to see it, I see it's easier to forgive when I'm the presence of love. There's not as much effort in doing it because I'm the presence of love. Not as much need to worry. What would love worry about? Do you care as much about what other people think of you if you're the presence of love? In business, you would thrive because people love being around love. See it that viscerally, that in that much detail. You're the presence of love, the God or goddess of love. And the love in everyone loves to love you. Notice the connectedness with everybody. Love doesn't say, well, I'll connect with this one, but not that person. Hopefully, when you see the feeling of love, you're not seeing that discerning, judgmental, critical mind. There's just this ease. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful to look out in my life and see the mountains, the colors, the green, the plants, the wildlife? Like St. Francis, how could the birds not want to fly and be around you, and the butterflies? How would you not have nature dancing with you? Every particle in the universe wants to be near you and dance because of who you are. God, goddess. I am awake. I'm awake. to who I am. And for this, I give the deepest heartfelt thanks in advance that my life can and will start to reflect this more and more. Who I truly am, what I'm truly meant to be, and what I'm supposed to bring to this planet. And so it is. So it is. Good.